Episode 46 with Tony Wintrip, the elk singer. Here we go. There exists a threat, from anti-hunting groups to politicians trying to give our land away, and we won't stand for it. Those vast western landscapes provide the space for our wildlife to thrive and a place for hunters and anglers to fuel the fire that sparks their soul. In this show, we share our love of hunting, fishing, and conservation. Here, we provide the foundation to meet these threats through passion and the grit of the American outdoorsman. Welcome to the Western Huntsman podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 46. This is Jim Huntsman, your host of the Western Huntsman podcast, coming at you from the Broken Tine studio in Hayden, Idaho. You know it, and I know it. How you guys doing? This is going to be a really good episode this week. Really looking forward to having you guys hear this one. I've got a buddy of mine named Tony Wintrip, and he's known on Instagram at the Elk Singer. And so Tony is a musician. He's a country singer. He's got a lot of talent. He's a big-time hunter. And when I say big-time hunter, this dude shoots bulls with drop tines. He shoots Rockies. He shoots Roosevelt. He's gotten blacktail. He's a mule deer hunter. He's a whitetail hunter. All these things. He's a prolific hunter, and he's found this really cool niche in a way to kind of mix the two passions that he has between music and hunting into this kind of his own genre of music, and it's really cool. He plays us a couple songs. It's one of my favorite conversations. We had a lot of fun. We had a lot of really good banter back and forth, and I think you guys are going to really like it. So that is coming up shortly and sweetly. I got a trivia question for you, though, before we get to it. And the trivia question this week is going to be in relation to why hunting is conservation. And if you're like a member of the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, they'll send you all this stuff. And one of their slogans is hunting is conservation. And why is hunting conservation? And I want people to kind of pay attention to this. Why is hunting conservation? I was on a podcast a few weeks ago, and it was a buddy of mine, Derek's podcast, the Primal King podcast, where he had me on a show, and he's asking me, why is hunting conservation? And I was all fired up about wolves and talking about this and that, and I gave him this super long answer about how, if we don't control wolf populations through hunting, they're going to, basically kill off their prey base, and then they suffer, and blah, blah, blah. It was a really complicated answer. It doesn't need to be that complicated. You need to know how to simplify that answer when you come across some of these anti-hunting folks out there that, want to argue about it. So why is hunting conservation? So the trivia question this week is, how many white-tailed deer were there in the year 1900, right around the turn of the century? You had Teddy Roosevelt, and all these things were taking place at the turn of the century in 1900. How many white-tailed were there then? Versus how many white-tailed deer are estimated in the year 2020? And by looking at that number and looking at those comparisons, it's going to explain to you, if you're researching this, why those numbers have dramatically increased. And it's a really cool story. So, and it will give you a lot of insight as to why hunting is conservation. And so that's the trivia question. How many deer were there in North America? Actually, no, let's stick with North America. How many white-tailed deer were there in North America in the year 1900, and how many deer are there today, November 2020? Write your answers into me at jim@thewesternhuntsman.com, and I will file all those away, and we're going to put it all into the pool. I'm going to give away a T-shirt and maybe something else, maybe a sticker or something like that. I'll figure out something. It's all on the website too, by the way, and you could pick out, if you're the winner, you could pick out which T-shirt you want. And write into me at jim@thewesternhuntsman.com. How many white-tailed deer were there in North America in the year 1900, and how many white-tailed deer are said to be estimated today in 2020? So that is the question, and that ties into if you guys do want to support the show and check out some of the swag items we got. I have been trying to figure this store thing out for a long time. I finally got something that's kind of working. We're still working on making it better. But I've got some really cool shirts. Some of them, they just say the Western Huntsman. Others say there's one, we've got a Primal shirt that's been fairly popular. I've only got like 20 of those left. So if you like that Primal shirt, it says Primal AF. You can guess what that means. So it's got the logo on the sleeve, and it's been really popular. So if you want one of those, I don't know if I'm going to do another run yet of those ones. So check that one out. The hats are there, all that kind of stuff. Guys, I want you to know I hardly make any money off of that kind of thing. What it does is it costs me a certain amount of money to have the shirt made, and then to get it shipped and to get it in stock and all this stuff. I end up making like $3 or $4 on these dang things, and that's cool because it goes towards back into the podcast, because the podcast, I have like 4 or 5 different monthly costs to have it live and out there and on the airwaves and all that kind of stuff, and all the gear that it takes to run this thing. So it's totally up to you, but if you want to support the show, it sure helps me justify doing a podcast to my wife. So if it could just pay for itself, that'd be great. Okay, let's shift gears for just a sec. I want to talk about last week's episode because it was a pretty hot topic. And if you listened to last week's episode, I had Bill and Dirk Durham from Northern Idaho Whitetails Forever on the show. And we were talking about what that association's belief systems are in terms of conservation for whitetail deer. And that's kind of what ties into our trivia question for this week. And it wasn't like a contentious discussion from our end, but what I found is we put it out, and I got some interesting comments back. I got some emails and a couple of messages through social media discussing, their disdain or discomfort regarding some of the rule changes suggested through Northern Idaho Whitetails Forever, and cutting some of the hunting season short. And what I want to address with that, guys, is instead of sending me those emails, get involved with the association and bring your points to the table, because sending me a message about it does nothing. All I am is a vehicle to get this information out for these different associations and organizations and people and individuals. All I am is a vessel to get this information out and get it in front of people. I agree with most of what they say and what they do. There's a couple things that I think can be picked apart only for the sense of my personal opinion on the whitetail situation. And this is something that I did not explain in last week's episode, and I want to clarify it really quick, okay? Because the thing that people might not understand is, well, I think people do. I think you all understand that when you're talking about deer conservation and wildlife management and all these things, there's not like a one-size-fits-all to every situation. So let me give you an example. I had one guy write in that was really upset that we were talking about the desire to get rid of the whitetail doe tags, the extra tag, in Idaho. So I want to explain that for a minute, because we have to break it down per species, and then like what I call a subspecies of whitetail deer. And what I mean by that is this: mule deer. Mule deer are already having a fairly tough time. Their migration patterns are much greater than a whitetail deer. Their habitat is different than a whitetail deer. Their behaviors are much different than a whitetail deer. Mule deer and whitetail deer cannot be kind of roped into the same arena. And so when we're talking along those lines, personally, again, these are my personal opinions, and I'm not a biologist or a scientist or anything, but I do geek out with this stuff. Mule deer, I don't believe you should have a mule deer doe tag in most areas of the country. That's my personal opinion. Mule deer have a tough enough time. We need those breeding does, and the mule deer need those breeding does. And mule deer need to be very closely monitored over the next decade or so because of some of the challenges that we've been facing with mule deer. And a lot of that has to do with whitetail encroachment into mule deer habitat and things like that. So that's my opinion. Now, I grew up in an area where it was only mule deer. We didn't have whitetails where I grew up. And so it was super taboo to shoot a doe in general. And that leads to, let's talk about whitetail for a minute. Again, personal opinion. I could care less if you have a deer tag and you want to shoot a doe. I don't care if it's a whitetail. I do care if it's a mule deer. Don't shoot mule deer doe. That's my opinion. Whitetail does. They taste good. It's great meat. I have no problem with people filling their tag with a doe. So let's just make that very clear right now. Now, personally, I don't shoot does, and it's just for personal reasons. My own personal, thought, feeling in terms of what I want to pursue. It's my tag, so I can fill it how I want, and I choose not to shoot does, whether whitetail or mule deer. And that said, I have no problem with somebody shooting a doe. Okay, if you have a tag for it, it's legal. All that. I don't have any problem, so don't get all sideways with me and send me nasty emails about it. I don't care. If you're out there and your goal is to put meat in the freezer and you shoot a doe, I'm super proud of you, because that's what we need to be doing. That's pursue what you personally feel is super important to you, and I respect you for it. I don't discount people that choose to shoot does over meat. So don't, just don't take that the wrong way. That's just my personal opinion on it. That's whitetail doe. Now, that said, I do feel like the extra leftover whitetail doe tags that sometimes are sold in the state of Idaho have a major impact, a negative impact on our whitetail populations. I think that should be addressed. That ties into what I want to talk about in the difference between the two whitetail. They're not really a subspecies, but I'm gonna categorize them that way for this quick discussion. In the state of Idaho and throughout the Mountain West, and where the states that have the combination of whitetail deer and mule deer, my opinion is there are two types of whitetail. You have mountain whitetail and you have agricultural whitetail. The mountain whitetail is where I think the focus from last week's discussion was centered around. So mountain whitetail are they're not much different, but they are different than the agricultural deer that run in the low country. When you're in the high country and you're going after a whitetail, the way you pursue it is a little bit different. Not much, but it is a little bit different. They are a hardier animal. They are tougher to hunt. They will generally get a little bit bigger because they, that's not true. Antler-wise, if you find a big mountain whitetail, that's a much more difficult deer to hunt than an agricultural big whitetail. Again, guys, these are personal opinions. Don't lose your shit over it. Okay, getting back to this. So the discussion last week was mainly centered around whitetails in the mountains, not these agricultural interface deer running through the farms and the ranches in the low country. And I hunt both. Just so we're clear, I hunt both of those types. I like to go after whitetails in the mountains, and I also like to hunt whitetail in the agricultural interface. And the whitetails in the mountains, when you see a big buck, it's much more rare to find a big mountain buck than it is down in the agricultural country, because you got to consider those are the bucks that are up against a lot more predation. They deal with bears, they deal with wolves, they deal with coyotes, they deal with all these things. Those whitetail populations in the mountains, that's what they're dealing with, where the agricultural deer have much less pressure, but I feel like they have a little bit higher hunting pressure, depending on whether or not the landowner is allowing people to hunt on those properties. So they're both very pressured animals during deer season, specifically in Idaho with these long rifle seasons and long archery seasons and all these seasons that we have. And so I just want to address that. The conversation last week was mainly centered around the mountain deer. That's what we were talking about, the mountain whitetails. If you're down in the low country and the population of these agricultural deer is much greater than what they are in the mountain. And so the extra tags down there, or if you're hunting those areas down there and they don't want to change the seasons on those, I don't have any problem with that, because I don't think that those deer are suffering at all. I think that, and I can look at my own property to suggest that we have a very, very healthy population of deer. I've got hundreds of deer that come through my place. And it's a great habitat between my property and all my neighbors' place. We're kind of at the base of some mountains. They've got the option to go up on the mountain. They've got the option to stay low. We've got agriculture around here, and this is very rural type kind of area. All my neighbors, all of us, we all hunt our property, at least for one buck. So that I just wanted to address that. you really have to separate the mountain bucks out of the agricultural bucks, or deer. So I guess another way to put that is when we talk about, like in Unit 10A in Idaho, where we talk about how we have a problem with the extra doe tag. I'm not sure that I feel that way for agricultural deer in the low country. In fact, I would say that I firmly feel like if somebody wants to get an extra tag for the low country, these agricultural deer, those populations can easily sustain that. It's the mountain bucks that I think that need help. They need our help. They need our conservation efforts. They need us to provide a voice for them, because we're not PETA. We don't act like they have their own voice and they can, vote in the election and everything else these crazy freaking animal rights activists sometimes conjure up. So that's my rant with that, and that's kind of my stance on that. I hope that clarifies some things and maybe calms a couple of you down, because I got some nasty emails, and which there's something to be said for that, because it means you guys are paying attention, you're fired up, you have your own thoughts and opinions, and you're passionate about this stuff. And so I appreciate that. That's awesome. I want you to keep doing that, and I want you to still be passionate. And if you do disagree with me on something that we talk about on this show, keep sending those emails that way, because the conversation is good. If I feel like it's the right approach, if you're just mean and nasty, I'm not going to respond to you. But if you have a point that you want to talk about and go further with that, feel free to send me the email, and don't hold back. I'm not saying that at all, because I think that conversation is healthy, and it goes back to, I feel like that shows the level of passion that we as hunters and outdoorsmen and sportsmen, or whatever you want to call it, that it's strong. The passion is strong, and that's why I do what I do on this show. And it's a big part of our life. And so that's totally fine. Also, if you disagree with me, I'm cool with it, man. We could still be friends. We don't have to agree on everything. I'm not a snowflake and you're not a snowflake. We can hang. And so that said, guys, I would suggest, if you do have those opinions and you want your voice heard with that, instead of sending that kind of stuff to me, it's really not going to go anywhere, I would recommend you get involved with an association like Northern Idaho Whitetails Forever. It's important stuff, and you guys already do a great job with everything else. And I know on my show I ask you guys to get involved a lot, between Foundation for Wildlife Management and Northern Idaho Whitetails Forever. I support the RMEF like crazy. I like the Mule Deer Foundation like crazy. All these associations that I feel are important, that they actually make a positive difference for our wildlife. So that said, guys, let's get into it with Tony Wintrip. And you guys are really going to like this conversation. He's a cool dude. I hope he's serious and he wants to come out and go hunting with me and let me come over there and go hunting. We talk a lot about just his lifestyle, and it's unique. And make sure you jump on his website after the show and check out his show, which is not his show, his website. It's called bulldownproductions.com, and he's got all sorts of cool stuff on there, from music to hats to shirts. And he's the guy that came up with the shirt, the T-shirt. If you've seen it around, I posted a picture wearing one, and I didn't even know it was Tony's. But it says "Straight Out of Elk Camp," and it's one of my favorite shirts. So anyways, guys, check that out, and hope you enjoy this conversation. Let me know what you think at jimofthewesternhuntsman.com. Join us on Instagram, join us on Facebook, and join the group Hunting the West, the Western Huntsman, on Facebook. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great week. All right, today, you guys, I'm really excited about this one. I've got a buddy of mine named Tony Wintrip, who's out in Western Washington, who is a hunter, he's an outdoorsman, and he's a musician, which is near and dear to my heart. Tony, how you doing, brother?
Good, buddy. I'm excited to do this with you.
I know this is going to be fun, man. I've never had an official episode about hunting and music and all this stuff. We're just going to have a good conversation, dude.
Absolutely, man. These are exciting. They're awful fun, and it's good to learn about each other. Everybody. I like this. Yeah,
for sure. And you've got a lot of talent. I can already tell. Anybody that's listened to this show, especially the School of September series, knows that back in the day, I was a musician that had a band, and we played all these rowdy venues and had a tour bus and all sorts of stuff. And so this kind of thing is near and dear to my heart, and I'm excited to get somebody who actually knows what they're doing with the guitar. And you're a singer songwriter, and I want to kind of get a little bit of your background, and let's start with that. Give us kind of the bird's eye view, man. Who's Tony Wintrip?
Well, when I first started doing music, I think I was about 18 or 19 when I wrote my first song or two, basically on a cardboard box. And I went to college. I actually went to college to play baseball, and I ended up taking a couple of music classes, and I had my first solo actually at Centralia College in 95, I think it was. And
oh yeah, wow.
My buddies on the team were like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I actually like music, and they thought it was just some cheesy class I was trying to pass so that I could get on the diamond. But anyway, so
before you go any further, that's an interesting dynamic, because you're a jock and a musician, and like that's exactly what it was. Funny, dude. I played high school ball, but would have to cut out a football practice to go do the marching band practice, and nobody knew like if I was this nerdy musician or this cool jock. And it sounds like we're kind of peas in a pod with that one, man.
It's great, man. It's really
So cool.
Yeah.
And so that was back in like 95, and then just continue.
Yeah. So I did that. I ended up only playing a couple years of baseball. Then I decided it was time to go to work, and I had a couple of injuries in college with my shoulder and collarbone, and it was just time to hang it up, which was unfortunate because I love to play. But anyway, so I started to work, and I continued to write songs, and then I had my daughter in 97, I believe it was, and I started writing songs about her and just kind of that part about being a dad, and and then I went through a divorce, which just gave me more power for songwriting. And
that's kind of a twist, man, like a Taylor Swift twist right there, man.
Yeah. And anyway, so I was kind of going backwards there for a while, and my neighbor, he got a garbage route, and he's doing a garbage route, and he had these 4 songs on a cassette that I'd recorded just on a little teeny cassette player, and luck had it that a guy that was doing fair promotions, Rod Easton, he was picking up a spare job for a backup garbage truck driver. So he's driving around with my neighbor listening to these 4 songs. And he's like, who is this kid? And my friend Dave goes, well, it's my neighbor. And he's like, I want his phone number. So anyway, he calls me out of the blue one day, and he's like, hey, do you want to open for Brian White? And I was like, what?
No kidding.
Yeah, I sang in like 2 weddings, and he goes, we want you to open for Brian White. There's going to be about 2,000 people there. And I thought, holy, yeah.
Okay. So, and if any of you youngsters out there, the whippersnappers, Brian White was a big deal in the late 90s. That's cool, man. I didn't know you opened for him.
Yeah, that was my first shot at, I got 6 songs. Here I am on this big stage, and, there's 2,200 people there, and my biggest crowd at the time was a wedding with about 50. So the emotions were just giant, and anyway, after I got off the stage, I didn't have an album out or nothing, but I had a few songs, and these people were like, we want to hear that song. You need to record that song. And then they wanted an autograph, and I'm like, this is unbelievable. Why do people want my autograph? And from then,
wow,
it went down one of those long, cool roads, meeting cool people with, I opened for Clint Black, Charlie Daniels, Dierks Bentley. I mean, it just was like this road was really, really good for quite some time.
All right. Wait a minute. You're moving super fast here. You got to open for Clint Black?
Yep.
So tell me a little bit about that, because personally, I'm a huge Clint Black fan, still am to this day. And because Clint Black, and you probably already know this, he's a drummer too. And so what was that like?
Clint Black was cool. He's one of those musicians or singers, I should say, more than just a musician. But his vocal is the best, cleanest I've ever heard on a stage. I mean,
dude, he could hit any note, man. He's crazy. Yeah, no, that's awesome.
And so it's kind of funny, you meet these people backstage before they even get into their attire, for showtime. And you can hardly tell who they are at times, especially like Clint Black. You never see him wearing a ball cap. He wears a cowboy hat on the stage, and he's back there walking around in like pants or sweatpants or something and a ball cap, and super nice guy. But, you try not to take up their time. And so we talked a little bit. And but actually watching his show after ours we were just in awe, like, wow.
Yeah, he's amazing, man. I love Clint Black. If and any of you guys, just that are may not be country music fans, like the old school country music. We're not talking about these whatever they are today that play music and call themselves country. But Clint Black was like he was one of the original. He came out about the time that like Garth Brooks and George Strait was already out, but he was getting to that point where he was huge. And Clint Black's he comes on with this huge vocal ability, and he's a great songwriter. One of my favorite songs that he wrote back when he was still in high school. And the name is going to totally evade me right now, but he's singing about Nothing's New, Nothing's News, that song. It's a great song. So if you're a country music fan, Clint Black. He was wildly popular back in the day, and I'm like a huge fan, and I love all types of music. Well, I don't really care for rap much, but I love rock and I love country, and those are my two things. But I like the original country, like what you're talking about with Clint Black and those guys. And that's super cool, dude. And that's why I didn't want to talk before we recorded this, because I didn't want to get this information prior to us recording. So now I'm all excited. I didn't know you opened for Clint Black. He's one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah. He was, he's amazing. Charlie Daniels was, that probably was the pinnacle for me and my band. We opened in the Columbia Theater in Longview, Washington, and we actually won this contest to be able to open for him, and it was called the Battle of the Bands, and it was for Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. And we won, so we got to open 2 shows for him. But just standing next to him backstage before he went on, and we got done, and then he was going to go on, and he told me we did good, we sounded great, and I'm standing there drinking a Bud Light long neck bottle with this just massive beast. I mean, he's a big dude. And
can you believe that we just lost Charlie Daniels like a month ago, or maybe it was longer than a month ago? But yeah, I mean, he's iconic. Everybody knows Charlie Daniels, country music fan or not. And so he is. That's a good point. He is as big as he looks in like the music videos and all that kind of stuff.
Yes, he is. Yeah, he's a big giant. Yeah.
Huh. And so that was in Longview, Washington. You opened for Charlie Daniels. Were you guys doing like full sets, playing for like an hour, or what did that look like when you're opening for people like Charlie Daniels?
Typically, the time slot was anywhere between half hour, 45 minutes. That was pretty standard, 7 or 8 songs type. You're lucky to get an hour. Most of the time, it's about half hour, 45 minutes. But we opened 2, since we did 2 shows, we might have actually had an hour.
Yeah, it sounds like, I never know, because so I did a lot of opening shows when I had the band and everything, but nothing like Charlie Daniels level. When when you're doing that, does like the Charlie Daniels band, do they provide a sound guy and take care of all your sound stuff and set everything up, or do you still have to do all that?
No, they take care of everything, and it is first class. That's
I'll bet.
probably the coolest part. I mean, everybody, when we get done doing a sound check, I had a 6-piece band at that time, and everybody's eyes are just wowed. Like the drums just sound like monsters. As you're a drummer, but when you get that
Yeah,
kick
dude.
sounding, just super strong, and the vocals clean and clear, and you're just 100% taken care of. So
God, that's so freaking cool, dude. What year was that for Charlie Daniels?
I would say that was, gosh, don't quote me on it, but I'm going to say about 04 or 05, maybe 03, somewhere in there.
Gotcha. So that's about the time I was starting my band.
Oh, nice.
We're getting old, dude. We're getting old, man. Can you believe that? I just turned 40 last week.
Oh, God. I'm 46.
So
I know it.
So you got all this going on. You're opening for Clint Black and Charlie Daniels and stuff like that. I want to stay on this music path for a minute, and then we'll kind of circle back to the hunting. But where did it go from there?
Well, it went to recording 5 albums. So we recorded 5 CDs, which is a lot. I wrote every song. Some of them were good. Some of them were just kind of fillers, for the albums. But, meeting those type of people was probably, went from Charlie. I mean, we opened for Dierks Bentley. He was probably one of my favorites. Dierks was the nicest.
Was he?
I mean, yeah. He asked me to go into his bus after the show, and we were going to have some beers, and I had to work the next day, and he sat out there and signed autographs for an hour and a half, and I hung around. And then I'm like, I got to take off. It was about 12 o'clock, and I had to work at like 5 in the morning. So I start driving home, and the guy from the radio station calls, and he goes, "Where are you?" Dierks asked where he went, and I'm like, "Oh no!" So I missed a prime opportunity to hang with him, but I got to talk to him beforehand, and he was just a super kind soul, and he was new at the time where. He totally understood the steps it takes to move to Nashville or feel like you're good enough to join a circuit.
Yeah, he's got a storied history in country music, man, and the way he grew up and went into it like that. That's super cool. My wife turned me down to go to a Dierks Bentley concert on our first date. And so it took me I had to ask my wife out 4 or 5 times, and she turned me down every time. And the first time, well, no, that's not true. The first time I asked her out, I told her I had tickets to the rodeo, which I didn't have tickets to the rodeo. And so she said yes. And then I couldn't get tickets because they were sold out. And, then I asked her to this Dierks Bentley concert, and she told me no, she wouldn't go. She's like, "No, I ain't going with you." And so it took 3 more times. I came to her with my hat in my hand, and I'm like, "Come on, you can go out with me." Finally, I took her out. She agreed to go out, and I took her bar hopping on our first date, and she had a great time. And so anyway, you can see I get off on a tangent super easy, man. So you got to get us back on track.
I like it. I think you're telling me a little more about you, and that probably goes back to that old saying of, you should have been a cowboy. There's a story behind that one.
Yeah, the girl man, for sure.
Didn't want to go with the guy until she saw you had a cowboy hat on. Then she says, "Okay, I want to go with you now."
Well, that's how I met her is she actually worked at one of the venues that I played at. And it was this super rowdy venue in Idaho. Back in the day, it was called Kelly's, and the locals will know what I'm talking about. Kelly's. And then it turned to Big Al's Country Club. And it was famous because it had the biggest dance floor in the entire state of Idaho. And she worked at Big Al's Country Club, and I was one of the headlining bands there. And so, but she kept turning me down because she thought I was like this womanizing musician, which I was not. I actually was not. But you know how it is. They like these chicks are throwing their bars up or bras up on the stage, and
Yeah.
she think it went beyond that, and it never did. It just was it was what it was. So I never got invited on somebody's bus, man. That's super cool. You got to go like hang out on Dirks Bentley's bus and everything, and I love the whole story of being a musician, and I think a lot of people don't understand the struggle and the work behind it, and they're like, hey, can you play my place for exposure for no money? Because they don't understand, you know, a microphone cable is $100 and a decent microphone is, you know, a lot more than that. And so it's just an interesting thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't get to go on the bus because I left, but I had an invite. I wished I would have stuck around, but that was the whole deal. I'm like, you're supposed to keep it in your hip pocket and go do them. And, you know,
Yeah. So, okay, I'm going to tell you a story I don't tell a lot of people because I'm not super proud of it.
Oh, okay.
I have advice on how to get on somebody that's you know, big, famous, whatever, on their tour bus. I'm in this bar in Charlotte, North Carolina, and Rio Diamond's playing. It's this big bar. It's when I was in the service, and I get obviously I'd had 1 or 2 to 10 adult beverages too many, and snuck out back, and I snuck on their bus after they stopped playing. And so I'm sitting there hanging out on the couch in their bus. When they showed up, they came out and they got on the bus and they're like, who are you? I'm like, I'm Jim. Let's hang out. Let's have a drink. And so the band thought it was funny as hell because I was way too intoxicated to be hanging out with anybody, but they thought that was super funny. So they hanging out, they're giving me a beer and we're all BSing, and all of a sudden their security guy comes on the bus and he's like, you're out of here. What are you doing on here? And the band Diamond Rio, those guys are all trying, they're like protecting me, trying to keep the security guard from me. But he finally grabbed a hold of me and drug me off the bus, and they threw me off the bus.
Wow.
So
Diamond
don't tell
Rio,
anybody that.
great.
Yeah, it was a good time. They were good dudes, man. They were good dudes. I don't know if they wanted me on their bus or not, but anyway, I was there.
That's great. Yeah, great.
So where'd you take it from there? So you're at like 2003, 2004-ish or whatever. You're opening for Charlie Daniels and all this stuff. What happened from there?
So let's see. Shortly after that, we were just on a good roll, playing lots of shows, and my drummer cut off 3 of his fingers with a skill saw.
Oh no, man! Are you serious?
Yeah. He was trying to do something with a fence in his backyard, and he cut off 3 of his fingers, and so we just took a giant step back at that point. Everybody did. You know, we didn't really know what to do. We didn't want to go get a new drummer. You know, we just healed him up, and you know, that was that other piece to our puzzle that we ride together, we die together. It was one of those deals, and
yeah, for sure.
And you know, time went by, and I started going off playing my own stuff, and this is where this basically led down this new genre that I've been doing with the hunting and fishing music.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, well, if we can't play, everybody can't do this together, then I got to keep playing. I got to keep pushing and, you know, moving forward with my dreams. Basically, I mean, I just had a passion for writing and playing, and I needed to keep going. So I did.
So you're one of those guys that like the passion never goes away for you for music, and you're into it still today, to this day. See, and I want to ask you about that because I lost that. I got to the point where we were playing like 2 to 5 times a week, no kidding, and we were playing all over the Northwest. And we're cruising around in this bus and playing these venues. It was like that show that makes all the bouncers of today's age, you know, go berserk. They get really excited when they watch that show with Patrick Swayze where he's a bouncer. What's that show called?
Roadhouse.
You're at Roadhouse. That's the one, man.
Yeah.
We were playing those kind of bars, and like fist fights would break out, and we'd just keep on playing, man. And it'd be like all rowdy in the bar. Especially there was a couple of places that were super, super rowdy, and one was Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Actually, I was Post Falls, Idaho, which is outside of Coeur d'Alene. The other one was Billings, Montana. That is a rowdy freaking town. And there was another one in Washington down in the Tri-Cities. Oh, I'm sorry. No, it was Clarkston, Washington, not in the Tri-Cities, down in the Lewiston, Clarkston area. That was always a rowdy crowd. But the point I'm getting to is I like it turned into this thing where I wasn't enjoying playing music anymore, and it was cutting into my hunting time. And I rarely got to fish anymore, and all these things that were happening that it made me kind of lose my gumption for it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
How did that not happen to you?
I mean, my passion still with hunting is as strong as my music is. It's just easier to take a step away from music for 2 months, during hunting season, with the other 10 that you could play whenever you want. Say the winter, for example, it's easy to book in the winter because there's nothing going on. But yeah, I mean, there's a time where, especially with this whole COVID thing, I hadn't picked up my guitar since September during elk season. I take it to camp and I play a little bit, but we had a big show at Lucky Eagle Casino got canceled the week before the COVID thing. So from that point, it was just, we didn't practice. We couldn't even be around each other, and I didn't play much. I mean, it wasn't, I guess shouldn't say that I lost the passion then, but it just, I'm sure everybody's in the same boat with this virus,
It just takes the wind out of your sail, man.
It does.
Like for a lot of things. I was supposed to go to, I don't remember if I was supposed to go to New Mexico or Wyoming. I was supposed to go to one of those states this year for an elk hunt, and it wasn't because of the virus that I stopped. It was because the virus affected my day job so much I didn't want to spend the money to go. And it just, this thing is like just taking its toll on, and everybody's like freaking super ornery about it. And now your governor in Washington just like shut your state down again. So my company is all up in arms over it because we had some good momentum trying to recover from this thing, and I'm ready for this thing to go away, man.
Yeah, we are too, and it's such a divided world anymore these days. A lot of us here where I live are still trying to figure out how our governor's still governor, but it's just
me too, man.
It's going to kill our small businesses. We know that for sure. I mean, everybody's going to start throwing their hands up in the air, and
I don't know how we go on like this. Yeah. It doesn't make sense. Like Governor Inslee of Washington, who's like not even from the same planet as guys like you and I.
Yeah.
I don't understand the long game, the long-term game plan here of shutting down small businesses and bars and like, all the things that is happening where there's other parts of the world and other parts of the country that, are understanding that, there's this virus does not mean we need to close everybody out of our life and not have Thanksgiving together. And it's just, and my mom had it. My mom is just getting over coronavirus right now. And she got pretty sick for a couple of days. So I'm not downplaying the coronavirus, but at the same time, like, what is the limit to this thing? What's the long-term game plan when somebody like Inslee tells like friends like my buddy Nate that is a tattoo artist they can't work? You know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah. No, he's voted the worst of 50 states at number 50 as a governor, and for some reason, the center of our state, being in that I-5 corridor in Tacoma and Seattle, still votes for him, and we can't figure it out. There's nothing more asinine than a governor during the middle of that, all the riots and everything, letting people burn down their town and beat the hell out
Right.
of them. Because it's just, you're not getting my vote. It's not okay to do.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. We cannot go on like this. We can't keep closing all these small businesses down and people's day-to-day life activities. The government, whether it's a state government or a federal government, it's not, the intention was never to control people's lives like this. This is just out of control at this point. And so I don't know, man. There's so much going on. Like it's not even funny. But we got off topic. Are you from Longview, Washington, or I'm sorry, you're not from Longview.
No.
Where are you from? You ever go hunting with somebody that always chintzes out on like the most important thing, like boots? I did a couple times. And you know what happened? They slipped and fell down the mountain the entire month of September. That's what happens when you buy $100 boots and try to make them last. They don't last. Guys, Hoffman Boots. Can't say enough good things about this company. It's a great family-owned business right here in North Idaho. They make badass boots. These things are insanely comfortable. They just glue your feet to the mountain in the steepest of conditions. They will keep you safer because of that. So while my buddies are falling on their butt the entire time, I'm walking down like I'm in the park. Guys, I have a great promo code that'll save you 15% if you go to hoffmanboots.com. It is all caps lock, Huntsman 15 in the checkout when you are ready for a new pair of great boots that you won't have to replace for a very long time. Guys, Scree is extreme mountain gear. They were one of the first sponsors of this podcast. And this high-performance hunting attire and gear it's scientifically tested camo patterns, backed by a great company, and it's got a lifetime warranty, VIP sizing and exchange program. Basically, if you order it and it's the wrong size, they pay for it to get shipped back, and they're going to send it back. I heard of some dude that accidentally ripped a pair of his hardscrabble pants, and he was upset about it, and he let Scree know, and they replaced him for him. Guys, this is a great company. That's the kind of company that I am proud to have supporting this show and being partnered with them. It's just, again, a great company story and a company that you guys would be proud to own the gear for. It'll get you through any season, anywhere in North America. Check it out at screegear.com and use the promo code The Western Huntsman for 15% off and free shipping at checkout. And last, but by far not least, Phelps Game Calls. Guys, Phelps Game Calls, you guys, if you've listened to any of these episodes, as I kind of dissected my last September, I had so many bull elk encounters using these calls, and I used everything from the Pink Maverick to the Pink Amp to the Maverick. I used the Renegade Bugle Tube. I used a couple of their external reed calls. Just had a ball calling in elk left and right, hand over fist, because these calls work. Obviously, they work well. It's not just about that, though. Guys, Jason Phelps started this company from scratch and built it into what it is now. The company, the game call company that we all know well. And I think that is so important. These American companies that are born out of an idea and they grow into this thing that we can all get behind and love and support, and the personalities and the people behind it. That's Phelps Game Calls. Salt of the earth company, salt of the earth people that run it. And I can't say enough good things about Phelps Game Calls. Don't forget, it's not just about elk with Phelps. You get you a blacktail in distress call and watch those deer come into you while they're rutting, because it fires up those does. And what do you think is right behind those does during the rut? November's coming. Make sure you're getting your deer calls as well. So check it out at PhelpsGameCalls.com and use the promo code Huntsman10 for 10% off at checkout. I keep wanting to say shipping. That's how I roll. All right, guys, with that said, thank you to the sponsors of this show. Let's get back to the discussion. Hope you guys are enjoying the show. We'll talk to you later.
I'm actually from Aberdeen, Washington.
Oh, Aberdeen. Okay.
And I live just east of Raymond in a little town called Menlo. And it's a wonderful neighborhood, wonderful people here. It's just backwoods, hunting, fishing, beer drinking, lovable people. I fit right into this environment.
That's perfect, man. What are you drinking tonight?
Actually, I had a glass of red wine.
I saw that before you shut. See, I'm drinking whiskey, and I'm okay with that.
I saw that too.
Yeah. Well, I've been, dude. I haven't. Speaking of coronavirus, I haven't processed a deer for probably about a decade. I usually just take it into the butcher because I really don't have time.
Mm-hmm.
And well, the butcher won't take anything right now. It's got to be all boned out, and by the time you bone it out, you might as well just finish it yourself. So I went and bought a bunch of stuff today, and I've been butchering a deer all day, and so I'm covered in blood recording this, dude.
I love it. That's
That's
badass.
pretty cool. It's pretty
That is
legit,
badass.
right?
Yes, it is. I love
So,
it. Congrats on the deer too.
Yeah. Well, I got my area ready to break this deer down and everything. I started drinking Coors Light, and so I figured I'd just keep it on and poured a whiskey before we recorded. So what is the game plan now for you in terms of, like, on Instagram you're called Elk Singer, and you do this music that is like Northwest, it's hunting, it's outdoorsman. It's like this country, almost rock feel vibe to it. It's really cool music. What is the goal now? What are you going for with your music?
Well, I'm unfortunately, before the Corona hit, I was doing the circuit of the Mountain Challenge archery shoots, and so I would go play. I would go play like Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and play my music, sell my CDs, and then my website is bulldownproductions.com, and I actually sell sweatshirts and hats that go with my songs. So
I'm gonna look that up real quick.
Yeah.
Bull Down Productions?
Yep, bulldownproductions.com. And okay. I have a trademark pending for Straight Out of Elk Camp apparel.
Are you the one that came up with that?
Yeah. Yep.
Dude, in fact, I think I posted that picture. I have a picture of Elk Camp. I won that shirt at a Mule Deer Foundation banquet.
Awesome.
That says Straight Out of Elk Camp, and I posted that picture. I was chopping wood in my flip flops wearing that shirt.
I saw that picture. I commented on it. Yeah.
I love that shirt, dude. I need more of those shirts.
Well, I know a guy that's going to ship you a new one. So.
Oh man, I'll send you some Western Huntsman shirts. You send me another one of those.
I like it. Good swap.
Oh yeah, this is a nice website, man. Bull Down Productions.
Yep, Bull Down Productions.
Yeah.
I'm still in the process of new gear and stuff. We were going to have some new artwork done on some different sweatshirts, and then here we go again with the COVID thing. And I was afraid, well, I can't sit on a bunch of stock if I'm not out playing, right? So
yeah, for sure.
I sell a little bit here and there. Usually right before Christmas, it gets busy. The sweatshirts are really nice, and then Bull Down is the title of one of my albums, and so I've had Bull Down sweatshirts, Bull Down hats, and everybody that kills a bull down, it's just one of those.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's the cadence, the holy cadence of elk hunting. I got a bull down, so when I wrote that song and put it on an album, I actually get some downloads periodically for that album, which is cool. I mean, it means that it's working. It just takes a long time to get your music out and for people to download it. So I like it though. It's fun.
It's awesome. I love that. I love the Just Elk It hat, but you're sold out.
Yeah.
That's one thing we should talk about. Like, how hard is it as a musician to get your music out there? And then we'll circle back to this stuff because this website's pretty sweet, dude.
Thanks, man. Yeah. It's kind of a big giant circle from start to finish where you see yourself taking off playing music and then building a little clientele of people that buy stuff, right? That buy out of camp or this or that. First of all, it starts with the music. They hear a song, they go, "That's cool." They want to listen to the song, and then you can kind of tie it to a hat that says "Bull Down," and then the next thing I tied it to a couple other pieces of attire, and then you kind of hope in the end you can build a website, and kind of make a living at selling your stuff across the states. There's hunting in so many different states, and that's basically how I was starting, and hoping that I was going to end with some sort of an online store selling elk hunting stuff, elk hunting attire.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And it's actually, gosh, man, I'm like listening, and I'm also shopping on your website here. So bear with me.
That's
Northwest Wild, born to eat elk. I like that. Dude, you're sold out of the cool hats. I need to get some of the, do you make your own stuff, or do you have it made, or how do you do that?
I have it made in Centralia by a place called Willie's Sports Shop, and actually, it's weird because I've had some hats ordered for a while now that are all on back order, and it all had to do with this COVID stuff. I mean, it's
yeah.
months set back where it's hard to plan ahead. When I don't have any gigs to play to go, I mean, I would usually, my dad and my wife and my in-laws would help sell this stuff at my gigs. And now we're not doing it. So I'm just kind of trying to do the social media thing with posting, but then when you go to order and it takes a couple of months because they're all back ordered, it's tough. But
yeah, for sure. But my t-shirts take forever too, man, but they're not months, but I'm having a hard time with those because it's all, I'm doing it drop ship because I really don't know what I'm doing with it. Honestly, I'm just trying to sell some t-shirts to help pay for like microphones and stuff for the podcast. But it takes like 3 weeks for people to get them.
Yeah.
And so that sucks, but it's super funny, man. I had no idea that you were the guy that came out of that or came up with this straight out of elk camp shirt, because I love that shirt.
Oh, thanks.
I get more comments. I wear that. So here in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, we have this local store. It's an outdoor shop called Black Sheep. I'll give them a shout out. They're like a locally owned, smaller version of Cabela's, and the owner is this cool dude, and you always know when he's in the store because the employees like behave themselves a little bit better. But it's such a cool store. I was in there today actually, but I'll wear that straight out of elk camp shirt and go into somewhere like Black Sheep, and everybody they comment, where'd you get that shirt? And I don't even know, man. I got it at the Mule Deer Foundation. So
maybe I'll try to reach out to one, and that's just it. I'm trying to get my gear into different stores all over, and it's stuff like this that, get going, man. I appreciate you a lot. That's awesome.
What's it looking like going forward with this COVID thing? Are you going to be able to start playing live shows again soon, or?
Not with Inslee as our governor here in Washington. It's shut down for at least a month, I think. And I don't know. I might end up starting to do some live shows on, doing stuff like this on the computer. I mean, if that's the way to go.
Yeah.
I mean, at least it keeps a guy in rhythm, playing and practicing.
I think that's important, man. Just keeping the rust knocked off. I picked up my guitar the other day for the first time since long before hunting season. I always take it and I play it. We camp all summer, and I'll take my guitar up there and we'll play around the fire and do some music or whatever. But it's nothing like it used to be. And I picked it up the other day, and I'm not kidding. I played like 2 or 3 songs, and my fingers, I thought they were going to start bleeding again from back when I was learning guitar. So it's just something you've got to sharpen all the time. And I kind of miss it, man. I miss playing now that I'm older, especially, and writing songs and all that.
Yeah.
And so I wish we actually lived closer. I'd say let's hook up. We'll go to the river and camp and just play music and hunt for a few days. So if you ever want to come to Idaho, man, I got a great elk camp. Get your tag. We'll play music at night, and we'll call in bulls all day during September.
Oh gosh, I'm 100% in.
Okay, well, it's an open invite. I'm not kidding you. It's an open invite. It would be a ball. I love it.
Gosh, we could do a live show from elk camp. That would
that
would be kick-ass.
There's no way to stream it because where I hunt, there's no service, but we could just record it and then release it when we get back to town.
We could do that. Yes, we could. I'm not chicken to that.
Hell yeah, man. That'd be a lot of fun. So give us what's your hunting background look like? Walk us through that.
Um, it's deep roots with elk hunting. My family's elk hunted for years and years, from my grandpa to my dad, my uncles and cousins, and me and my brother have just we picked up bows in '99 or 2000, and we've harvested a lot of elk in 21 years, I guess.
So are you hunting Roosevelt elk out there on the coast, or?
Yeah, yep. We hunt Roosevelt's here on the coast, and then I've been Rocky Mountain hunting in Oregon. I've killed bulls in Oregon, Idaho, Washington for Rockies, and then just Roosevelt's here. But yeah,
I got a question on that. I got a question on that. Because I don't know. I know I've heard other shows talk about it and YouTube channels talk about it and stuff like that. But what is the comparison when you're bugling for a Roosevelt versus bugling for a Rocky? What's the difference in your opinion?
um, these elk here on the coast they're pretty temperamental. There'll be days where they just shut up. It's just like a bad day of turkey hunting where you could hear 100 turkeys gobble one day, and the next you go, where the hell did they all go? They don't answer. And these elk here are pretty similar to that. You could catch them for a couple days where they're on fire, and then they'll just shut up. Well, in my experience with hunting Rocky Mountain bulls, of course the canyons seem bigger. I mean, your higher elevations. The coast you can only get, man. I mean, we can only get 2,500, maybe to 3,000 feet max here on the coast, and maybe it has to do with those elevations. But I've been on some amazing Rocky Mountain hunts where I thought you could throw, the worst bugle at them in the world and they'd still answer. Kind of, but I don't hunt them that much. I'm used to hunting these, for, 21 years. And, just when you think you know everything about them, they'll still throw you for a tailspin. But,
So you think they're a little tougher to call in then over like as a whole?
I do. Yep, I do. Me and another guy were talking about this recently on a podcast too, and the similarities are, I would say, the Rocky Mountain elk I think they're more aggressive. The more and more I talk about it, I think but I've shot some bigger bulls too, where age might be that factor too of why they're more aggressive. Hunting. Man,
they weren't very aggressive this year.
No, this was a amazing year.
Did you have that? Did you have that? Like the elk just they weren't as aggressive and reactive as normal. Did that happen to you?
Yeah. Yep. But we were a little bit early when we went to Oregon this year than compared to when I would normally want to go. We went in that first week of September because our Washington hunt started later. And they, of course, they would bugle, but they weren't, then they'd run off. It was just everybody was out because it was Labor Day weekend. You got an extra day of vacation. But I did have people say, during that third week around the, 15th, 16th, 17th is typically, it seems like that prime time rut for Rocky Mountain elk. And we weren't there. We were here, but we did kill some bulls.
Yeah. I'm looking at your Living Northwest Wild gallery here. You got some great pictures, man.
Yeah. And Northwest Wild's a song that I wrote. It's a song that I wrote, and it's just about where I live and, all the things that we do here with hunting, fishing, clam digging, berry picking. It's just, to me, it's God's country for an outdoorsman. The salt water's right here to eat some amazing fish. The rivers, the fresh water's right here too. I mean, you kind of got it all living here, and that's why I called it Northwest Wild.
It's so true too. I think that there's a lot of similarities between coastal Washington and Oregon and North Idaho, because you have this big break, right? You have the Cascade Range, and then you have like Central Washington's this big open area where you can watch your dog run away for 3 days. And then you get into North Idaho, and it's super thick and brushy like coastal Washington. And so I think that's why it's near and dear to my heart, what you're talking about, because, we do all that too. The huckleberries and we have, my wife and I, we lucked out, dude. We bought this house out in the sticks. We've got some acres out here. Had no idea. The following year, we go out onto our property and we're looking around, and I kid you not, dude, I have an entire acre plus of nothing but huckleberries.
Wow.
And they're huge huckleberries. Like, they're great huckleberries too. They're not like chintzy huckleberries. And we spend, and they come into season a little bit earlier than up in the mountains. Cause we used to go up in the mountains and pick huckleberries like crazy. It's a big thing we used to do all of August. Well, now here at the house, we spend all of July picking huckleberries on our property, and it's one of our favorite things to do. So we get more huckleberries. I could start a huckleberry business with how many huckleberries we get off of this thing. It's crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we lucked out. The realtor, whoever listed our place when we bought it, was an idiot. They should have totally marketed this. Hey, there is a bunch of huckleberries that grow every year on this property, and that would have added to the value. And if I always tell my wife, if we ever sell this place, we are totally putting it. Okay, this is like huckleberry and whitetail deer haven.
Awesome.
So yeah, it works out. Do you hunt blacktail out there?
Yep, I hunt blacktail here on the coast, and then we actually hunt Idaho whitetails as well. And then I've been only on a couple of mule deer hunts. I'm actually going mule deer hunting next week, so I'm going to be off.
No kidding.
Yeah, doing that up
Are
here.
you going in Washington for mule deer?
Yeah, late archery mule deer hunting. Yeah.
Sweet, man. That'll be fun.
Biggest
mule deer I ever shot was in Washington. So,
oh wow.
Yeah. And I've hunted in Utah. I've hunted a lot of mule deer in Utah where they're just monsters down there. Utah and Colorado, they're well known for their mule deer, but ironically, the biggest one I ever shot was in Northeast Washington years ago.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It was a lot of fun. And so I love mule deer hunting, man. That'll be fun.
Oh gosh, yeah. I'm excited just to get out there. This is just a jungle here on the coast, for blacktails.
Mm-hmm.
The rut was not. It just was a funky rut this year, and then of course our extended buck season is this coming weekend, where I'm actually leaving to go to the other side. But it's all good. I shot enough of the blacktails. I want to shoot a big muley, and you got to go where they are to get them.
For sure. Well, let me know where you're when you're going, and if you're close by, I'll meet up with you.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
I'll help you. I'll help you pack, man.
Yeah, heck yeah. We could share a campfire for sure up there in the mountains.
Yeah. So we got to deal with some snow right now, but we're in good shape. We're all right. So those blacktails now when did those things rut exactly?
You could pretty much look for them to start getting in the rut around the 20th of October, and basically right through the 20th of November.
Gotcha.
A month long, and then they actually second cycle like whitetails and muleys do too, where if the doe doesn't come into heat, it's like 26, 27 days later they might come back into heat again. So there's kind of two ruts here, but I would say the peak is November 1st. Put yourself right dead center of October 20th and November 20th.
So a little earlier than whitetail and muleys, but I'm just curious. These things, I've never hunted a Roosevelt and I've never hunted a blacktail, and I want to change that eventually. But yeah, they've got this. What are those guys? My buddies over at Team Bad Decision, Travis. He's got this. What is that? The $5 slam or the grand slam of the deer or whatever. Wow. He just got that, man. And I've never shot a Coues deer, blacktail, or a Sitka, and those are the three I need. So maybe what we'll do. I got a great idea. Are you ready for this?
Yeah, let's swap a hunt.
Okay, you come over to North Idaho, and I'll call in a bull for you. and you just kind of point me in the right direction for the blacktail, because I have no
Oh,
idea how to hunt those suckers.
oh, it's on. No, I'll be right by your side. Well, how about we just
Okay.
do that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait,
And now I had it was pretty dismal for me this last September. I actually called in a lot of elk, but circumstantially only got a shot on one, and I've been just, man, it's been rough. I hit him, and I don't know if I hit him high, I don't know if I hit him back or what, but I never found him, and he didn't die, and I know this because I came back like 5 days later, and I did like a crow check throughout that whole basin.
mm-hmm.
I didn't kill him.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a rough season for me that way, because I always hate it when I wound an animal, and it's just that's happened to me twice now, and I never want it to happen again. But that being said, you're probably a better shot than I am, so I'll call them in. I'm really good at calling them in,
Oh,
and so
I don't know. Yeah, I've had some years where I shot good and years where I didn't shoot good. I actually emptied my quiver this year on the one that I killed, so that tells you anything. It wasn't the greatest performance, but I got him.
how many arrows did you have to stick in him?
4.
No kidding.
Yep, I shoot, and one of them did. I mean, it's a brush hole over here, so if you,
Oh, yeah.
One of those episodes where 45 minutes before dark type of a situation where if I'm pretty, I like to sneak down and pick up my arrow if I can, or at least see if it's down or expired. A lot of people will back out and wait for 2 hours or whatever, but if it's before dark, I want to make sure in this country, if I can put another arrow in it, I'm going to sneak down and try to put another arrow in it. That's just me, and that's where that's just elk it comes from too. A lot of it, making those split second decisions that a lot of people don't do.
Mm-hmm.
I like to do it just so that if I can stuff another one in them and not let them suffer, that's the kind of guy I am.
No, and that's the right way to be for sure. I didn't have an opportunity even to stick another arrow, but you know what? What kills me, man, is I've replayed that moment a million times in my head of when I released that arrow, and the thing that I keep coming to is like, there is nothing in that situation that I could think of in my mind that I would have changed. And so I just don't know what happened. I don't know if the arrow deflected or what, but I'm with you. If I could stick him again, I totally would. I didn't have an opportunity on this guy.
Sure.
He was a decent bull too. It's been a rough recovery from that one for sure. Part of bow hunting though.
It is, and it happens. It happens. I don't care who anybody says that they're this amazing archer. It happens.
Yeah.
Certain situations where you can't get another arrow in them. They're gone, and a lot of times that tells you too about your shot. That they're going to go that 400 or 500 yards and not slow down for a while. Then your shot's marginal, and it is what it is at that point. You're going for it, and like you said, if 4 or 5 days later you find them, and which happens in some scenarios, and a lot of people that I know will recover their game and cut their tag, put it on it, and take it out, and that's their season.
Yeah, that's how I have the name of my studio where I record these podcasts, which when freaking COVID's over, I could finally have people over again, which I actually would right now. But anyway, the name is Broken Tines Studio, and old Broken Tines up on the wall behind me here. It took some crows to find him, and it was a devastating deal. It took me about 30, I don't know, few days, and I finally found him through crows.
Wow.
Yeah, but I notched my tag. I was done, and it was only the 20th or so, sometime around there of September. And so, I could have kept hunting, but I just it wasn't right, and I wish more people would do that. But anyway, enough with the negative part of hunting. I want to get back to the music thing, man.
Okay.
Because again, we've talked about it. We're both music guys. I know that I'm kind of a poser because I quit music for a long time. I got a little burned out. I had a band manager that was taking the fun out of it, a lot of it, and just making it so it wasn't what I wanted it to be. It wasn't for the music anymore. But so what that's led to is I essentially am a hack musician nowadays. And when I had a band, we had our we called it. We had this funny, unique name for it, but we had basically two types of followers for the band. We had the band following, which liked our music and liked to come out and dance and get rowdy and listen to kind of a country rock kind of thing going on. And then we had our what we called the Will Foster following. And Will was our lead guitar player.
Yeah.
And so Will could play the electric, the acoustic, he played banjo, he played mandolin, he played fiddle, he played all these different things. Anything with strings on it, Will could play. And
Wow.
And I could brag him up because I don't think Will listens to it. I don't even think he knows what a damn podcast is. And he is one of the orneriest buggers you'll ever meet in your life. And he was an asshole, but he's also one of my best friends because I get him and he gets me.
Sure.
And we're very different in a lot of ways, but we're also he was like the wittiest dude you'll ever meet. Long story short, he had a following of other guitar players that would just come and watch him play guitar. That's how good he was. He should be in Nashville or LA or something just playing music because he'd probably make $1,200 an hour being a studio sessionist. He was amazing. He's amazing. He still is. He still comes over and we hang out in the studio here and play guitar all night long and drink too much and talk a lot of shit. And that's what we do.
Hell yeah.
And yeah, that's what we do. And he's a great dude, but he's also a jerk. And that's why he doesn't make $1,200 an hour in the studio.
I love it.
And so anyways, that was our second following. Other musicians would come to our shows just to watch Will play. And it was worth it for them. What I'm getting at is like, what does that look like for you guys? What do you guys, before coronavirus hit, what kind of following did you guys have? What kind of shows were you playing? That kind of thing.
We were, so I got different players now.
Makes a big difference when you have good musicians, right?
Yes. Yep. And then, so as far as the shows we were going to do, we had this, the biggest one actually is the Lucky Eagle Casino. They call it a Shamrock Shaker, and it's over St. Patrick's Day. And there's usually 3 bands: the Olsen Brothers band, the Hump Tulips band, and then my band. And it's a big party, Jim. It's exactly
nice
rowdy party. It's just a big in the casino, great hall, and it's packed. I think it was sold out. And I think it seats between about 1,000, 1,100 people.
I should get you some gigs in North Idaho, dude.
Absolutely, man. I want to come play in your studio and just hang out with you.
You should. We have a good time in this studio. Look, this studio, I tried to make it just for the podcast, but it ended up being my friends come over. I have this table and a wood burning stove, and we get a hot fire going. We break out our guitars, we break out the whiskey, and we just have a ball. And I got places to sleep, all that stuff. We're good. Come on over.
I'm in. I'm 100% in.
I think it'd be a ball, and this is. I'm really excited about it. This would be fun, and I'd love to take you North Idaho elk hunting, man.
Oh gosh, I hunted North Idaho for whitetails about 6 years ago. I think it was, just on a whim. I mean, we usually hunt kind of more central, but we were up, and if I tell you the name of the bar that we were hanging out, you'll know exactly where we were at.
Okay, tell me the name.
I think it was the Moose Knuckle.
Oh yeah. Oh brother, I've played that bar. I have played that bar. I know exactly where you're at, and all I know is there's a lot more wolves up there in that particular spot than there are deer and and elk. But there's a lot of big whitetails up there too. There's mule deer up there too.
Yeah, we were after whitetails, and my father-in-law's fuel pump went out in his pickup. We were stuck on a logging road, clean back in BFE, no cell service. I had to catch a ride with a log truck and drive out to get cell service and call a mobile mechanic to figure out what was going on. We got our trip cut short. I almost got ran over by one of those Black Angus cows, and
Oh, man.
yeah, it was a country song and a half.
That is a country song, dude. I can't believe that. What a small world. The moose knuckle, dude. Okay. I don't want to say too much just because of the area, but the trick to that area for hunting, whether it's elk, moose, wolves, bear, whatever, is you got to have a boat to access the very furthest northern point of that lake. And it's no man's land. There's no roads up there.
Wow.
So the only way to get to it is by boat. And I was supposed to, my buddy John Thomas and I were supposed to do that this year. And things got a little messed up, I think, with our elk seasons. But we were going to go chase elk up there this year via boat. But no, that's fantastic, man. That's funny you say that. I just played that. In fact, I did an acoustic gig with that dude I was telling you about, Will, who was in my band. We did like this acoustic session up there 3 or 4 years ago for like Memorial Weekend.
Wow.
And yeah, so that's awesome, man. Cool.
Gorgeous country.
Yeah, that's some jungle up there though.
It is. We saw some moose. I mean, yeah, you got to get up out of the bottom. That's for dang sure. But you're right. It's thick.
Oh yeah. Yeah, super thick and brushy. There's a lot. You got to worry about grizzly bears up there for sure.
No kidding. The grizz are in there, huh?
Oh yeah. Yeah. My buddy lives up there who's actually going to be coming on this show, hopefully in December, I think. I'm going to go see him, but yeah, he just had a big old grizzly come through his yard. Oh, and he lives kind of a little further north by about 30 minutes of where the moose knuckle is.
Gosh, that's terrible. Those things are creeping in.
They're everywhere, man. They're everywhere up there, and they're creeping in from, you got Glacier National Park where they're super rampant over there, and on the Montana side, and they're just moving over through there's nothing to stop them.
Yeah, right.
And so anyway, yeah, no, that's cool. I didn't know. One of the biggest whitetail deer I've ever missed was up just past the moose knuckle by 10 miles or so. And I missed that sucker like 3 years ago.
I'll be darned. Well, close to that. Yeah, we must have been almost on each other's toes. That's funny.
Yeah. It's great country. One of my favorite little nooks and crannies of the entire country up there. So, no, that's great. Now everybody's going to be searching on the internet. Where's the moose knuckle?
Yeah.
The bar's going to be famous. They have great burgers, man. They serve a great burger. So whatever. Go check it out, folks.
Yep. Give them a shout out right now. The moose knuckle, you bet.
the moose knuckle. My wife still has the hoodie. I got her a hoodie. That's how I got paid for playing that gig on Memorial Weekend, is they gave us hoodies. And I gave one to my wife and one to her friend.
Wow. Perfect.
So I want to hear you play some music, man. We've been talking all this music stuff. You want to play us a song?
Yeah, you bet. So,
all right, give us a little background on the song, though.
Okay, so this song is called "The Fever," and it's one of the more popular ones off my new album the album's called Freezer Bound. And "The Fever" I wrote.
Freezer Bound, I like that.
Yeah, that's the name of the album, but the song's called "The Fever," and I wrote it the night before opening day of elk season 2 years ago, sitting in camp. Me and my dad put up a wall tent. We were sitting around a fire one night, and actually, no, we weren't sitting around a fire then because there was fire danger, I believe. We were just sitting around in our chairs with the lights or whatever, but I was thinking about how much of a fever, your emotions just get huge the day before elk season. You can't wait. The anticipation's there, the camaraderie, and I felt like I had a fever, and that, the elk hunting fever.
Oh man, I know exactly how that feels. That's fantastic.
So anyway, it goes like this. the wind whips through the air. First day of the season, I'm all pumped. We got here. The coffee's on and daylight's creeping. The sun's coming over the hill. I wish they could bottle this rush I'm on or press it in a pill. 'Cause I've got the fever. The fever. The fever I can't shake. It's got a hold of me. The fever. Yeah, I got the fever, yeah. The fever that I get in the high country. Now I load up the pack I own. The outdoor edge is my fave. I'm sporting the Montana bow slings, game bags and razor blades. I'm about to send it mountain style, baby, let that canyon ring. From the depths of Phelps Gray amp frame, we'll see what this will bring. 'Cause I've got the fever, the fever I can't shake, it's got a hold of me. The fever, yeah, I got the fever, yeah. The fever that I get in the high country.
Yeah, man, I love it.
The high country. Now we roll off a hogback ridge a mile or two away, fighting the rocky ground. Bunch of branches in my way. The echo of an angry bull sets the mood and sparks the fire. And he kicks my fever into full swing. It's on like a live wire. I've got the fever. The fever. The fever I can't shake. It's got a hold of me. The fever. Yeah, I got the fever, yeah. The fever that I get in the high country. The high country.
Man, I love it, dude. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, we got to break this down. That was cool. You know what I liked about that, Tony, is you got like this, you almost have this southern deep, this bluesy country thing, mixing it with the Northwest where we actually got elk. And like this combination of it, I get excited, man. That was awesome. That was badass.
Right on. Thanks, buddy.
So where can people buy this music?
It's all downloadable on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, all the main streaming sites. So
okay, I wish we had. I have to just let people know we're not in because Tony's over in Washington. I'm in Idaho. You know, we're recording this over something called Squadcast, which is a lot like Zoom or something like that. And so the sound quality goes in and out, and it kind of breaks it up a little bit if the guitar gets too close to the mic or whatever. But the downloaded version would be studio quality kind of thing.
Yes.
Where this was, we're just kind of hearing it like we'd hear it around a campfire, which I love it because it makes it raw. It makes it real. I love the songwriting in it. And I think that any elk hunter on the face of this planet could relate to that. And I love it, man. That is badass.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
So, okay. I kind of cut you off. So we can get it at iTunes. We can get it. Can we get it on Bull Down Productions?
Yes. Yep. I actually have the hard discs on my website, bulldownproductions.com, or you can get it at cdbaby.com. They have CDs there as well, but I ship right out of my shop here in Washington, the hard copies, or if they want to download them, then they just go on any of the streaming sites. And then I've got a couple YouTube videos, I think, on there too. But
listen, Grandpa. You and I are the only people in this world that probably still has CDs.
Yeah.
Okay. I want your CD. I'm going to buy a CD because there's something about the thing that is lost with this whole download generation is having the physical album in your hands where you could see the CD, the cover art. You could read the different things that are put into a CD. We recorded an album. I put down a bunch of text, thanking people and talking about how the songs were written and blah, blah, blah. And you miss that. You miss that with this new age of only downloading one song at a time, where you don't get the full experience from an artist by just downloading one song. Where that physical CD that used to come, or even I'll go way back, man. I'm old enough. I used to buy tapes, the cassette tapes, and they'd have that little booklet inside, right? And I remember I'd take those booklets and I'd have some of my favorite bands. I had actually that wasn't a CD or cassette. That was a CD. I took because I'm a rock fan too, right? And so because I'm a drummer, and so I took my Primus CD to the Primus concert and had them all sign it. And I broke into the backstage to get them to do that. Like I snuck back there. I didn't have backstage passes, so I still have that.
Wow.
But that's what's lost. That's what's lost today. And so I want to buy your CD. And if I buy it on your website, is there a way that you could like track that and say, oh, okay, that's Jim bought the CD. I'm going to sign it.
Absolutely. I'll sign it right in the shop.
You can?
I'll sign it before I even put it in the mail.
Sweet. Because it's like this lost art, man. It's a lost art. These physical CDs, these albums with the covers, and man, I have like 500 CDs in my shop from my band days. Wow. That because we ordered a bunch when we made our album, and we sold a bunch of them, but I still have like 2 boxes full.
Well, I'll swap you one. You don't pay for mine, and I don't pay for yours. How's that? Would you swap?
Dude, you got a deal, but you have to understand the quality of yours is a lot better than mine. Okay.
No, thanks.
Like, you're a better songwriter. You're damn sure a better guitar player than I am, and you're a better singer than me. So I really like that stuff, man. I want the whole CD, and I'll play that stuff on the Western Huntsman intro if we need to.
Right on, man. Heck yeah, I appreciate that a lot.
So yeah, no, that's cool, man. This has been one of the more fun conversations for my show. And just for me personally, we talk, we usually get super serious about the ins and outs of hunting and the hunting industry and community. And we're all hunters that listen to this, and that's what we're passionate about. And, I have, outside of my family, I have 2 major passions, and one is music, and, the bigger one is hunting. I'm a lot, that's one of those passions that's never left me.
Sure.
And so, it's just, we need to get together for sure and get you over here personally, physically in the studio, because I could actually plug your guitar into my soundboard, and so we could make it like studio quality.
Heck yeah!
How cool would that be?
Totally. I think it'd be great.
So you got your mule deer hunt coming up. You got any other hunts for this year?
That'll be it. My dad's actually speaking of vets, my dad's a Vietnam vet, and I'm going to be sitting in a ground blind with him for 4 days. He booked a hunt through a great friend of mine at Tanglewood Guides up in Omak, Washington. And so,
oh, sweet.
So he's going to let me, Oren Jensen, he's going to let me sit in the blind with my dad and him, and, hopefully see my dad. He can use a crossbow because he's a disabled vet. Try to take a mule deer with a bow is pretty impressive. So he's 71, and I love him to death, and it's just going to be a great experience sitting there with him for a few days in the snow, and I can't even imagine how much fun we're going to have and laughs. It's going to be incredible.
That will be one of those things that you will never forget, and I think that's super important, and that's probably one of the things that philosophically we as hunters sometimes maybe take for granted is the time we spend with our loved ones, like our dads and our kids and our wives and other family and friends. And that is such a fantastic thing. What did he do in Vietnam? What service was he in? What branch, and what did he do?
Yeah, so he was a door gunner in Vietnam, and he had came back in 70, I think it was. I'm trying to remember. He left in 68, might have been 71. Anyway, he told my mom when they came back, before they had me, that he was never going to fly again. And so they knew that, and he never did fly during their marriage before they got divorced. But he's shared a few stories with me about Vietnam, but a lot of my passion with the music too is when I go play these shows, I always ask if there's any veterans in the room or in the bar or anything, and we always raise a beer and tip them back for them every place I play. So
that's fantastic.
And a lot of it, I love my dad to death. So I actually the most recent song that I wrote was called "The Colors on My Hat," and it's about a friend of ours that was in the Army, and I never knew he served. All the times that I've talked to this guy forever during elk season, this is where it really cuts, right? He was just a fun guy, loved to talk about hunting, this and that. Well, after he passed away, we went to his house to get this grinder. This was only been like 5 months ago, I guess. And he had left us this grinder, and he said he wanted it to go to the Wintrip, so we went to get it. And then when we walked in, where he had been sleeping, I saw his U.S. Army hat and a sack of brass and his life member hat right next to his bed. And I was like, man, I never knew he served. I don't think I ever thanked him for his service time. So the colors on my hat is for everybody that walks by any vet that says, Vietnam vet, Afghanistan war vet, World War II, whatever it is, the colors on those hats are bright, greens, yellows, reds, blues, and they signify something that everybody needs to know. And it's not that hard to walk up and shake a hand and say thanks. So,
it's such an interesting topic, and obviously it's pretty personal to me. On my last episode, I did a tribute to the Marine Corps because it was a Marine Corps birthday. And I did have a disclaimer in there that talked about where I told everybody that if you served your country but not in the Marine Corps, it does not mean that I discount your service. And I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, mean that. I did the tribute to the Marine Corps because it was a Marine Corps birthday. And I think that I definitely went too long with it, and for that to the audience, I apologize. But it's one of those things that, like, we as veterans, I was in the war on terrorism, and I was in the Iraq War, and we were involved in a lot of stuff. We were in Kosovo, and it wasn't supposed to be like that when I joined. It was supposed to be peace. It was peacetime, late 90s when I joined, and then September 11th happened. The point being is the conversation. If people are thanking veterans, sometimes we get a little awkward about it. Like, sometimes it's not that it's not wanted or appreciated or anything, but we get pretty awkward about it sometimes and feel out of place when somebody thanks us for our service. And I want people that haven't, and this isn't for you, Tony, this is for just people listening. Right. Just understand that we genuinely do appreciate that, because the time we spent, and I'm sure it was the same for your dad, that when we served, it's like this big time in our lives. It's this big eventful thing that is so vivid in our memories. We think about it daily. We think about the good times and the bad times and everything in between. And so when somebody does appreciate that and show some appreciation for it, for me, I'll put it to you this way. I don't expect people to thank me for it, because I volunteered.
Sure.
But at the same time, when people do, it does actually warm our hearts, because it's like, man, we did do all these things, and we gave up this time, and we do this stuff, and I don't talk about it a lot on the show, but it is nice sometimes to hear that, and to hear people like you that actually appreciate it and appreciate our country, and see this thing that is greater than ourselves. And so thank you for acknowledging it, I guess, is the long way of me saying thanks for thanking us. And thank you to your dad for his service. And I feel like you got another song to share with us.
Oh man.
And yeah, I'd love to hear it, man. And we can kind of close it out with that.
Yeah. Yep. And I did a video of the song. It's on the YouTube. It's called "The Colors on My Hat." And,
hey, what's your YouTube channel called?
I believe I think it's.
You are old, man. You don't know the name of your YouTube channel.
No, well, I think it might be tied into my website, Bull Down Productions. But if not, you just Google "The Colors on My Hat" and it pops up.
Okay, because what I'll do is I'll put this all in the show notes, so people could just, when they're listening to the show, they can just click on all this. They'll get to Bull Down Productions. They'll get to the YouTube. Your Instagram is Elk Singer, or Elk_Singer, I think, right?
At Elk Singer.
At Elk Singer. Okay.
At Elk Singer.
I'm gonna I'll put that in the show notes, dude.
Okay.
That'll be cool.
I appreciate that, buddy.
Yeah, let's hear this thing.
All right, man. Once again, thanks for having me too. And it's always a pleasure to throw a shout out to the people that serve our country, men and women. And a wonderful story to go with it. But was the guitar, did it seem too loud on the last song where I could pull away a little bit, or what would make it better?
No, it was good. It's when you get real close to the mic, it'll cut out a little bit.
Okay.
But other than that, it's super good, man. Don't even worry about it.
All right. Here we go. The Colors on My Hat.
Cool.
The colors on my hat mean as much to me as all of the money and the fame on TV. You might think I'm crazy, but that's just me. Not a day goes by I don't think about the war. It's buried in my head, what was I fighting for? I can't take back what I saw when I was 18. But the colors on my hat that are on my head, I'll be wearing with pride till the day I'm dead. I'll do what I want to do and live where I live. You ought to know by now, don't ever cross me. I'm a devoted man, United States Army, and I fought for your freedom and life. I hope that you can see that by the colors on my hat. By the colors on my hands. Now I don't need to be pampered or be the first in the line. I just want to be thanked for my service time. And if you think you have demons, you should see mine. They're around every Sunday, through every Friday night. I smoke 'em out the way, son, and I drink 'em out of sight. I carry all those memories on my back, like the colors on my hat that are on my head. I'll be wearing with pride till the day I'm dead. I'll do what I want to do. I'll live where I live. Yeah, you ought to know by now, don't you ever cross me. I'm a devoted man, United States Army. I fought for your freedom and life. I hope that you can see that by the colors on my hat. Like the colors on my hair. Now the colors on my hat should mean as much to you as you stand here and smile with the freedom to choose your destiny in life, your kids and your wife. Yeah, I fought for that, like the colors on my hat. Like the colors on my hair. Now the colors on my hat were brown and black.
Wow.
And the last song I played was on a Hank soundtrack. Colors on my hat.
God damn, man, that was fantastic.
Thank you.
I don't get a lot of songs that kind of stuff is what that'll bring me to tears, man. I appreciate you playing that. Man, that's super important song right there. You're a good songwriter, man. You're a really good songwriter. And I respect a good songwriter. I feel like a good songwriter is somebody that can, really dig deep into their soul and make something happen like that. And it's just, gosh, what a great song, dude.
Thank you.
Great job.
I appreciate it.
Great job.
Thank you,
I
brother.
appreciate you. And gosh, Tony, thanks for coming on the show. I'm not kidding you when I say, let's do some hunting next year. We got elk season 2021 to look forward to. If you want to come on out and let's share a camp, we'll play some music around the fire, and you guys listening out there, if you want to jump on within the show notes and find some of these songs, Tony's a guy that's worth supporting, and I'd appreciate it if you did. Jump on bulldownproductions.com. You can find this music. You can find all sorts of cool T-shirts and hats. And Tony, again, thanks for coming on, man. This was awesome.
Thanks for having me, buddy. I love what you stand for. Love your shows. I wish nothing but giant stuff for you and what you do with your podcast, man. It's awesome.
Well, I appreciate it. Well, let's keep in touch. We'll get you back on hopefully this winter or something, huh?
Absolutely. Anytime, buddy. I'm in anytime.
Sounds good. Well, thanks again, and we'll keep in touch. And gosh, thanks for sharing that song, man. I'm half speechless here, so it doesn't happen very much for me. So I talk way too much, but I appreciate it. And thanks again. We'll talk soon.
We're going to be sharing a whiskey drink on the next one.
For sure. For sure.
All right, brother.
You made it all the way to the end. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. We sure appreciate your support. This is Jim Huntsman signing off and reminding you to check us out at Instagram at The Western Huntsman and on Facebook at The Western Huntsman. And you can also check out the website at thewesternhuntsman.com. Thanks again. We'll see you guys next time. Stay Western, and I'll see you on the mountain.